I forgot to seek discomfort, so let's talk about it. If this is your first time on my channel or you've just never seen my mental health videos before, I've been struggling with anxiety and agoraphobia since about 2017. The impact that this has had on my life is difficult to overstate and very difficult to fully appreciate. There's no telling how my life would have gone differently if this wasn't an issue. So in this video, we're going to be talking about my agoraphobia and some of the progress that I made in the past and the ways in which I have failed to continue making progress and kind of what my next steps are. If I had to describe what my agoraphobia feels like when I'm in a public place that I don't feel comfortable in, I'd say it feels like standing at the edge of a cliff on a really windy day with no railing and nothing to hold on to. Like at any moment I could just collapse, lose control, fall down the cliff, and there would be just nothing to keep me safe. I just don't feel safe being outside, especially when I'm alone. It just feels like I'm in the Wild West. I'm in the middle of the jungle. Any awful thing could happen to me at any time. I don't trust myself. I don't trust my body. I don't trust my mind not to betray me. There's that element of the fear of fear itself, right? The fear of having a panic attack, which is a genuinely terrifying experience that in the moment kind of robs you of the ability to think straight and think rationally and blows all of your other fears out of proportion. And aside from just the possibility of panic attacks, another huge part of my anxiety is this generalized fear of losing control of my body. So I have a fear of throwing up in public or losing control of my bladder or bowels or fainting or just otherwise embarrassing myself in public, usually like due to some kind of bodily malfunction. So as a result of that, the closer I am to a bathroom, the better I feel, because to me, bathrooms are like a safe space. They're a place where I can go hide. I can have my panic attack in there. I can have my, medical complications in there, and I'm not going to embarrass myself because a bathroom is like a socially appropriate place to have those symptoms and have those kinds of issues. But of course, out in the real world, there are a lot of situations where you're not conveniently close to a bathroom. And so I tend to avoid those kinds of situations, which is no way to live because so much of life happens outside of, a 5-minute radius to a bathroom. So why is this becoming more relevant to me right now? For the past 5 years, I've been self-employed. I tend to refer to it as self-underemployed because I don't have enough work to make me enough money to be in a stable financial situation. And so lately I've tentatively been dipping my toes back into looking for a part-time job to try to stabilize my finances a little bit. And I've very quickly realized that this is not going to be as simple as I hoped. The last job I had was in 2019 to 2020. I worked 20 hours a week for about 5 months as like a shelf stalker in a little supermarket very, very close to home. And I ended up quitting that job because of anxiety issues and also sleep issues. It was also conveniently right around the time that the pandemic hit Germany. I haven't had an in-person job since March of 2020. And part of why I started looking for jobs now is because the burden of my financial stress is seeping into my ability to be creative. I think it's very hard to be creative when you are really, really stressed out about money and like survival things. And it was just making it really hard to work on things like my art and my music and this YouTube channel without feeling guilty and feeling like I should be doing something else with that time. I should be trying to make money with that time. And I thought all of those hours of just feeling paralyzed by money stress would be better spent actually doing a job to fix that money stress so I can use the rest of my time doing the creative stuff that I want to be doing. But inevitably, I realized pretty quickly that every time I applied for a job, I hoped I wouldn't get it. And every time I got called back for like a phone interview, my heart was racing the entire time. I felt like I was gonna pass out. It was incredibly stressful, just terrifying. I was terrified that someone would hire me. I've gotten so out of practice with pushing the boundaries of my agoraphobia that going from where I am now to being in any kind of formal employment is just too big a leap. Like, it is too much pressure, it is too much stress all at once. I have not built towards that step in any way, and it is just terrifying. Right now, any kind of onboarding seminars or meetings would make me panic. Having to take the bus to work every day would make me panic. God forbid they put me at the cash register in a customer-facing position where I have to sit in a chair and not leave and therefore feel trapped. I would panic like crazy. And that just, it's not aligned with being able to do the job. I don't feel ready to dive into the deep end like that, but more importantly, I realized that I haven't been dipping myself into the shallow end either. So that needs to change. That's why this has all become so difficult. Which leads me into, I forgot to seek discomfort. I think it was around 2017, back when I was still living in China and my anxiety was starting to get worse and was really hitting its peak, that I discovered the Yes Theory YouTube channel, and their whole motto was to seek discomfort. For them, that meant doing crazy things like landing in a foreign country with no money and relying on the kindness of strangers for food and a place to sleep at night. For me, that might have been, you know, stepping outside my front door and walking a circle around my house. They were doing the kind of adventurous, crazy things that I longed to do, and they had a kind of faith in themselves and the goodness of the world that I wished that I had. I started watching their videos and felt very motivated by them, and I would set myself my own small seek discomfort challenges, like, you know, walk 5 minutes from home, walk 10 minutes from home, go to the bakery down the street and order a pastry. And I hoped that those small incremental changes would slowly heal my anxiety and allow me to have the kinds of adventures that the Yes Theory guys were having. But progress was really slow, and I was still avoiding a lot of the situations that I found scary. And ultimately, when we left China in the summer of 2018, I left the city I loved without ever saying a proper goodbye to it, and never got to visit any of my favorite places one last time. My family and I started a new life in Germany, and recovery got even harder. I had to learn a new language, mental health help was hard to come by, and we moved to this tiny village in the middle of nowhere where I didn't know anyone and I couldn't relate to anyone. Those first couple of years in Germany were really hard, and I put myself through repeated exposure sessions and panic attacks to try to secure a small handful of safe locations. I learned to get to our local supermarket. I got comfortable with my dog walking route. I learned to take the bus, like one single bus line, to the next town over so that I could get to my doctor's appointments. I got a job as close to home as possible, and then when COVID hit, I quit that job and I just stopped trying and stopped pushing myself. While everyone else was complaining about how badly their mental health suffered during quarantine because they weren't allowed to go anywhere, I was just relieved that I didn't have to go anywhere. My life was the same. Nothing changed for me. I was just as bound to my location as I had ever been, and now everybody else was too. And nobody had a reason to force me out of my comfort zone, and I was kind of happy for the break. And as we slowly started coming out of the peak of the pandemic, I took for granted the progress that I had made in the past and stopped pushing myself, stopped doing exposure exercises, and I even started regressing in some areas. One time I took the bus over to the next town for a doctor's appointment, but the return bus got canceled because I think the driver was sick or something, and I was basically stranded in the next town over with no way to get home, so I had to walk back home for over an hour through like a road that just goes through the forest, and there's like nowhere to stop to rest on the way, no bathrooms, no stores, no coffee shops or whatever. It's just like a straight road through the forest. It was a really unpleasant situation to end up in unexpectedly, but I actually made the most of that experience. Like, I picked wild mushrooms on my way home and it was kind of nice, but after that I didn't trust the bus anymore. I didn't trust that the buses were gonna come on time, on schedule, and that there would be a bus to take me home. So I just stopped taking the bus. And after that, if I ever needed to go to a doctor's appointment, I would try to get somebody else to drive me. So now it's been at least a year or two since I've been on a bus. And as for trains, I think I've only taken the train one time in the 7 years that I've lived in Germany, and it was with somebody else accompanying me, and it was probably like 5 years ago, and I've never taken the train by myself, and I've never taken the train since. In short, I stopped seeking discomfort, I got complacent, and I settled into the painfully limited life that I had gotten used to. So why am I talking about all of this now? When I started applying for jobs this year and realized that even a job just a 15-minute bike ride away seemed too big and too far away and too scary for me to deal with, it really hit me again like a ton of bricks how badly I needed to change. I started watching videos and reading stories from people who had recovered from anxiety and agoraphobia, including even psychotherapists who had had that issue in the past and gotten over it, and a trend became apparent. They all said the only way out is through. You can't recover from agoraphobia from inside your comfort zone. You have to do it scared. You have to put yourself through the pain and suffering of repeated panic attacks and meltdowns and situations that feel terrifying and set off all of the danger signals in your brain. You have to prove to your brain that you can survive those situations until slowly, painfully, over time, your comfort zone starts to expand and your brain stops labeling those situations as dangerous. You have to seek discomfort until it's not uncomfortable anymore. And even when it is uncomfortable, you just have to keep going. But what about the soft life? How does that fit into all of this? Nobody likes discomfort, but avoiding it presents its own set of problems. I want to live a soft life. I want a life of comfort and ease. But for me, the soft life includes a feeling of freedom, and agoraphobia does not make me free. When I think of my dream soft life, it includes traveling, going to concerts, getting coffee with my friends, having a choice in what I want to do and doing it. This life where I have to spend hours hyping myself up to go to the grocery store, where I have to worry about panic attacks when I go to the mall, where somebody else has to come with me to do all of the things that I want to do because I'm too scared to do them alone, is not a soft life. It's a prison cell. I want my life to be soft, not me. And in order for my dream life to feel soft, I have to get strong enough to live it. They say you have to pick your hard in life. Something is always going to be hard. It's up to you to choose what that thing is going to be. And for me, being cooped up inside all the time and having to ask someone to take me to the places that I need to go to, not being able to go by myself spontaneously to the Christmas market or to the beach, and having to spend way too much on grocery delivery because I'm terrified to leave the house is too hard. That is not a life that I want to live. I truly believe that I have the power to change this and to heal this and to expand my comfort zone. And if that takes a crap ton of discomfort over and over and over again until it stops feeling difficult, then that's what I'm gonna have to go through. I am not my anxiety. I believe I have the power to separate myself from this. I had a life before anxiety that looked very different, and I believe I can have a life after anxiety that looks very different in wonderful ways. Right now, getting over this feels insurmountable, but it's better than the alternative. So I need to get back to that place I was in when I first started watching Yes Theory and get that motivation back and start seeking discomfort again, you know? 5 minutes from home, 10 minutes from home, go to the bakery down the street and order a pastry, and just do it again and again, over and over and over, until it stops feeling scary. If my agoraphobia is stopping me from doing something as basic as getting a part-time job to help my financial situation, then my full-time job needs to be not having agoraphobia anymore. Because like realistically, even if I get the job, even if I get the dream job, even if I get a job that pays me $1 million a year, my current situation would not allow me to enjoy that money. All the money in the world, all the financial stability in the world, all of the success in the world would not be fun and would not be enjoyable from inside these four walls that I am trapped inside of 90% of the time. So this is just a little announcement that I'm starting back up on my anxiety recovery journey. And if you're also someone who is living with anxiety and agoraphobia, or you're just curious or interested in it, then I would love for you to follow along. I really want to build a community of mutual support around this because I know how hard this is and how lonely this is and how many people just do not get it. And I believe there's a way out for all all of us who are struggling with this, and I hope that my little corner of the internet can be a place for people like us to convene and just give each other some motivation and inspiration and support. Let it not be understated, I am terrified. I am both terrified of what will happen if I do this and the amount of suffering and panic attacks and uncomfortable situations that I will have to face as part of my exposure therapy and agoraphobia recovery journey. And I am also terrified of what will happen if I don't do this. If I go back on my word, if I kind of like slink back and retreat into my little hidden cozy cocoon of like terror of the outdoors. And that's part of why I'm making this public, because the feeling that other people are watching and that I'm accountable to someone out there in the universe, in the ether, is motivating to me. I have been really surprised by how much my body doubling cleaning videos have helped people, and I think this is another thing that could really help people. And so I'm trying to tell myself that I need to do this, not just for me, but also because I need to be part of the change. I need to be contributing something to the community of people around the world living with agoraphobia, and try to lead by example and like try to inspire others to take their recovery into their own hands through me taking my recovery into my own hands. So if you have anxiety and agoraphobia, or you're just curious about it and you want to follow along on this journey as I try to dig my way out, then please subscribe to my channel. I'm hoping to turn it into a regular vlog series. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to call it, probably like anxiety diaries or something like that. So come join me as I learn to seek discomfort again. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.